Schools love the word innovation. So, what does it actually look like when a teacher wants to be innovative? There are so many tools out there today with AI and the way that we can automate and do different things, and yet education is not adopting it at the same pace as many other industries. So, what does it actually look like to be innovative in today's world using these tools? How could you use these tools to actually help improve the things that are happening at your school? So, what actually happens when a teacher tries to be innovative, right? We just get so caught up in all of the different systems and processes and things that we have to do that we end up, I feel like, getting too overwhelmed with being able to keep up with the day to day that we're not actually able to be as creative and innovative in the classroom as we'd like to be. And maybe at your specific school, you actually are able to. Maybe you have the room. Maybe your administrators are able to provide you that space to do that. And I feel like for most of us out there who are wanting to be more innovative and more creative, don't know where to start because it's so overwhelming with all of the day to day tasks. So, what I'm suggesting is that maybe we can use technology to actually help us. Right now, the current way in which we do things is we buy a tool that's supposed to fix all of these problems, and then uh, we end up not really using it that much. And I'm suggesting that maybe we go from a buy model to a build model. And I'll explain more in detail. Right now, the current cycle looks as such, right? You buy a platform that's supposed to fix everything, right? There's no real training on how to use that platform, and there's too much to learn. It's too nuanced or it's too robust of a platform to actually get into all the details. You need almost an expert to teach you how to walk through each step one by one to do the certain tasks that you need to do to just get the basic functions out of it. And there's just no time to learn it. You either having to give up your weekends or you're having to give up your summer holiday to learn these new systems. Uh, it oftentimes ends up because no one is using it the way that it's supposed to be used. It ends up sitting unused because it's just not that helpful. And then another year comes around and you either try to buy another one to fix it or you just discard it and reject it altogether. And so I think the mistake that we often make is that we think it's a tool problem when the reality is that it isn't necessarily a tool problem that we're dealing with. It's something maybe else that's broken. And so what I think we should maybe start to ask is what tool, instead of what tool should I be buying, there's maybe a little better question instead. And I think the better question that maybe we should be thinking about is which process wastes me the most time? Because if we can start to get to the root cause of why certain workflows and processes and systems that we have at our schools are working the way that they are, maybe we can get to the understanding as to what maybe is wasting the most time for us. And maybe there's a way in which we can build something that can actually help solve that problem. The second question I think that maybe we should be asking is which communication loop keeps breaking? So, of all of the things that keep happening in my day to day workflow and the way that I operate, what are the things that just I keep repeating, the things that I keep doing over and over and over again that obviously are not maybe the most effective use of my time? And then what tasks only exist because another system doesn't work? So I think I see this all the time, especially at our school, is that we have all of these different platforms and they all do one very specific thing, or we have one specific platform to solve a tiny solution that another platform isn't able to solve. And I think that fundamentally what we're realizing is that we're just kind of stacking all of these different platforms to try to solve certain things, and they come with all these extra nuances and tools and robust features, and we don't ever use them because we just needed it for that tiny little sliver. And this is like the biggest headache in ed tech because they're just never that actually helpful. And so it's time that maybe we start to rethink about that. And the last question that I'm thinking is what could we do with the tools we already have? So I find that we have a pretty substantial number of tools at my school, but we don't really use them that well. So I've started to try to dig into some of the tools that we use the most for communication, for storing data, for tracking different behaviors and things like that. And I'm realizing that there's so many different improvements that we can make by just utilizing the tool that we have in front of us. And it doesn't require much to actually get a better result with the tools that we currently have. The part that nobody says is that creativity is already there, right? Everybody is already very creative and you always have all of these ideas. You're just surviving in a system that isn't improving. It's not helping to take away the tasks and the time, energy drains that actually are not helpful for you, or that not helping you to build a better relationship with kids or help you to help get the information across that you're wanting. And so, what every school actually needs is an educational systems architect. We need someone to get in there to actually start to get in the weeds to see what are the things that are broken, what are the things that are a problem. We need someone to be able to identify the gaps in the different types of tools that we have and how we can kind of merge them all together to actually support better outcomes for our students, because right now we just have a bunch of things that are not talking to each other. And I think what's really cool is that you can actually start to build a lot of this yourself. I know that in some of the workflows that I've designed and created for my school, is that these kind of the some of the technical side of these things are actually not as complex as I originally thought, especially with how smart and intelligent AI is. And when you're using them for just your local schools, it can make it really safe and keep the data in house and doesn't require it having to be exposed in any way, which makes it really, really helpful because now you can actually start to use information to your advantage versus feeling like you just got to wait for somebody to give you a call back from one of these software systems to actually help implement this new thing. And so now you can actually start to just do it yourself. So, what would you fix first? Drop a comment in the description below and just let us know what are the things that you hate about your current setup and workflow, the things that drive you crazy, and things that you would actually want to see different. So, would love to hear. This is a quick one, just wanting to kind of get some ideas out there into the world. So, thank you for listening, all 12 of you, and we'll see you next time.